Hello everyone and welcome, I'm Kiv, your favorite degenerate, and today I wanted to talk about Halo Infinite and the potential rumor of there being cut content for the game already. I know I am coming into things pretty late. The article I'm talking about that's linked in the description, it was released not too long ago, but I definitely wanted to make sure I covered it because I think that people are taking things a little bit out of context. One thing I want you to remember is that the person in this article was not a senior member, it was a member of the Skybox team, an artist, who came forward and has just outright said that the game has had content cut from what was originally planned, and that because of development choices, they were making a new engine while trying to design the game, and so the workflow wasn't good and there was crunch and everything for a few years. For those of us who are keeping up with news about Halo Infinite, this is nothing new. We know that this is one of the main reasons as to why they delayed the game in the first place. They didn't want to rush the game, they didn't want to have a crunch when they had done the same thing in previous titles, and obviously they don't want to have a repeat of other certain games. So yay, good decision 343, you made an important call and you didn't screw it up. Good on ya! Let's move on from that, and let's focus on this cut content business, because that's what interests me, and I think people are forgetting that cut content isn't always a bad thing. You can also cut content because you realize that what you originally planned wasn't actually that good when you put it in-game. And it's kind of funny because the Skybox designer in the article is actually also the perfect example of this. The designer went on to say that they made a lot of content, but that it probably wouldn't be featured in the game. And that's 100% true because we know that a Skybox isn't going to be in the game. We know that it's actually going to be a 3D rendered model, because when we had the Ask 343 session with the developers, they went on to talk about how they wanted something that would change as you explore the ring, and that makes sense because it feels a lot more fluid, and to me, I support that decision, but that technically makes the idea of a Skybox cut content, and that decision might be made for the overall benefit of the game, to make it all flow a lot better. So I'm not gonna sit here and pretend as if I am some kind of game design expert, but I would like to think I have a little bit of common sense. But let's just play this through. What if the developer was actually talking about content that would probably have been better to be in the game? What happens if we have lost good content? And what would that good content have been like? Could it have been multiplayer related with equipment or multiplayer maps? Or could it have been related to Spartan customization? For example, maybe you don't have as many variants of different armors available, or the skins that they have talked about. Could it have been related to the campaign itself and the semi-open world that the article references? Could it have been that some areas actually aren't explorable, which were originally meant to be? Well, cut content can always return to a game in the form of DLC, and updates and patches on a regular basis as part of a live service are very normal these days. But that tends to sometimes become an excuse for developers to release a half-finished game and say it's a live service. I believe that because 343 has been so tight-lipped about Halo Infinite for so long, and only now are we starting to get regular updates with the Inside Infinite and Ask 343 sessions, I think that they have had the time to add enough content to the game to the point where they are happy with it. Because when we hear from 343 in these updates, we actually have a lot of mention of smaller things like teams being done with their work, and that they are going through phases of screening for bugs and playtesting. So it is a very rigorous actual schedule that they have got on, and they are making sure that the game doesn't launch like MCC. They are making sure that the game doesn't have a poor campaign like Guardians. They have made the mistakes, and now it's time to deliver. And even though we know these things, and even though we hear these good bits of news, we are still worried in the back of our minds because we want the game to succeed, but we have to have hope. And I think that's what Halo's all about at the end of the day, especially in the previous original trilogy, which we are now returning to. We are going back to having our back against the wall. We are going back to having a insurmountable enemy that is going to take everything we have to defeat. But you can do it if you believe. I think this is a good point to end the video on, but before I do, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you think that this is a sign of things to come, or do you think that cut content is not necessarily bad? Or is it somewhere in between? Let me know, and I'll catch us all on the next one. I've been Kiv, and I'm out.
Killing frenzy.